Many of you know that one of my favorite things to do in the content space is to get you guys involved with my content. While I make it a point to not do every single video based off of your guys' ideas solely because I do like to, write my own stuff, it is really fun to just kind of read the way that you guys look at the game and look at the community and look at the devs and everything like that, and just kind of think about everything from your perspective and respond to them sometimes directly, which is what I do a lot of my community posts about. But one thing that's been popping up lately, and this happens a lot on Twitter, but I saw it in my comment section, and that's why I decided to sit down and do this video, was people saying that behavior balances the game competitively, and that's why the game doesn't feel good to play. Now, I've already done an entire video about whether or not Dead by Daylight is a party game or a competitive game, and the TLDW of that is, if it is PvP, it is competitive, at least on some level, no matter what the game is. Whether or not you choose to treat it like a party game or you choose to treat it like a I want to win game is all up from player to player, and I'm never going to shame anyone for the way that they approach trying to play. If you're trying to play for having fun, then play to have fun. If you're trying to play to win, then play to win. I don't believe in shaming people for wanting to sweat off their balls inside this game. However, the idea of perfect game balance is something that I think a lot of people just really don't understand. This came up in my video, Hard Pills the DBD Community Needs to Swallow, but perfect game balance relies on everything being viable. And the way that game design works, specifically games like Dead by Daylight or Overwatch, Valorant, Yu-Gi-Oh, whatever the case may be, the way that game works is there are certain goals within the game, and whatever things do that goal the best are the things that are going to be stronger. You cannot have perfect game balance without having an extremely boring game, because then everything in that game would go toward the goal at an equal pace. This is why I hate when people say that we need to start trying to lean into chase potential with every fucking killer, because that's just going to make the killer roster boring. If every killer dashes forward really quick with a knife, then no killer is going to feel unique from any others. We need weaker killers. Now, that's not to say that we should have killers that are absolutely miserable to play, like Trapper, Myers, or Freddy. And that leans into the other side of game balance. And something that I often find myself getting in arguments with people with is that just because a game is for fun, just because you see a game as being just for fun, doesn't mean that you shouldn't balance that game around the fun, if that makes sense, right? People think that if you're trying to balance something to be more fair to the other side, then all of a sudden that's balancing for competitive. But no, if things are completely unbalanced and skewed in the direction of another side, then the other side isn't having fun. I hear a lot about early Dead by Daylight and how ungodly survivor-sided the game was. The way people talk about old Dead by Daylight, there was basically nothing that killers could do to fairly win games most of the time. That is not fun. And the reason that those things had to be taken away, the things that made the game oppressive to killers, was because killers weren't having fun. And if history is being told to me correctly, there were things like mass killer exoduses where killers just weren't playing the game because it wasn't fun. If one side is not having fun over the other side, or as much fun as the other side, I should say, then people aren't going to want to play the game. So you need to balance things fairly. You can't just have funny, haha, goofy, chaotic shit if it's going to be unfun for somebody else. Having fun at the expense of others is not good game balance. But it doesn't mean that you're necessarily balancing things for competitive. Now, behavior doesn't approach balance in a competitive sense. They approach it in a spreadsheet sense, which is something that I and many other creators have spoken out about before. While I do love behavior, and I think that they do a good job of listening to the community every PTB, I think that sometimes their initial decision making is kind of confusing. Like, let's take the kill rates, for example. A lot of people are predicting Skull Merchant nerfs coming up because of the 70% kill rate that was released for her. You can't balance around kill rates, especially with something like Skull Merchant. Because after playing against quite a few Skull Merchants recently, I have learned that Skull Merchant isn't the problem. People giving up on hooks and disconnecting instantly are the problem. Most people see Skull Merchant and just instantly leave. They don't even give it a chance to see if they can make the game work or try to loop around her or anything like that. They're like, oh, Skull Merchant, monkey brain fire, boom, disconnect. And it's like, well, of course she's going to have a high kill rate if everybody's giving up on first hook and disconnecting. Like, why wouldn't she have a high kill rate? So it's kind of stupid to balance around that, because generally speaking, I think she's like middle of the B tier. She's not super strong. She's not super weak either, but she's not like overpowered. But if you look at just the kill rates, it would feel that way. And that's just, you know what I mean? So the thing is, though, is that how actual competitive works. Like, I don't know if you've ever watched competitive Dead by Daylight, but they have so many fucking rules. They ban certain killers, they ban repetitive perks, certain colors of add-ons aren't allowed, certain add-ons aren't allowed. You can't run certain perks or certain types of perks even. So like, one tournament I watched, the killer was only allowed one slowdown perk. You know what I mean? So it's just like, competitive is very stringent. And so I'm confused at people saying that behavior balances for competitive when no, they don't, because they don't balance this in a way that means, oh, everybody has to apply to these stringent rules. They balance in a way that tries to make things fun, but also they also balance in a way that tries to streamline things, and I think that's where people might be getting a little frustrated. For example, with the recent Mangled nerfs, that balance decision has led to more killers just running a different generator slowdown perk in its place. So before, when you might have ran, say, Surge, Sloppy Butcher, Bamboozle, and Brutal Strength, I don't know, right? Now killers might be, because Sloppy is completely fucking useless now killers might be inquired to run something like Surge and Pain Resonance, right? So they're just kind of leading us into this weird meta where everybody is running either gen speed or gen progression perks, and that's just not fun or interesting, and it's not diverse. And I think that's why a lot of people think that they're balancing for competitive, because they're like, oh, well, they're trying to streamline it. But streamlining and competitive aren't the same thing. And I agree they shouldn't balance for streamlining, but I don't think they're balancing for competitive. In conclusion, I think it's just very important to realize when you're trying to say, oh, behavior's balancing for competitive, that you actually understand what it means to balance for a competitive game. Like, you should definitely look at stuff like Valorant, for example, or League of Legends. I don't know much about League's balancing, but I'm assuming League of Legends balances very competitively. The point is that you need to understand the difference between streamlining and balancing for competitiveness and balancing for fun factors, because those are three different things. But as always, I don't make these videos just to spout my opinions at you. I make them so that you guys can let me know what you think. So let me know down in the comments down below. And as always, a very special thank you to our channel members listed on screen now. If you want to find out how to become a channel member today and get things like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click that join button down below. Love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one.